I invite you to embrace the truth that blame does not exist.
I believe in the inner visions of my second sight.
Stop believing in blame, whether it be yourself or another. It is always a lie. Come closer. Let me help you understand. First of all, the goal here is to learn to register the presence of blame in your mind, whether you introduced it or someone else is trying to give it to you. You learn to recognize it and say no, like that. You have to cut it off quickly, because once you get wrapped up in the mechanics of blame, you're already too deep. It's already sapping your strength like a parasite, and it is a lie. Blame is not real because it is never one person's fault. A fault is a gap between two people, two ways of understanding, and two or more potentials of a healthy life. Any healthy life is committed to understanding your degree of responsibility in everything that happens to you and around you. A spiritual perspective on reality begins with an awareness of the energetic interconnections that we live with. Those interconnections happen between people who are close to each other physically and between people who are close to each other spiritually. Meaning even those who are not immediately by your side, people who have helped to shape your life, are part of the circumstances that create you and the forces that flow through you. What is real is responsibility. What is your ability to respond to the circumstances that you're a part of? And that is often a vastly different measure than the kind of language, the kind of mental awareness that would attempt to attribute fault to one person. What this gives you is an immediate ability to negate any conversation, any mental engagement, any context that would attempt to struggle between two or more people with aspersions about this person caused this or this person caused this. Now, in many circumstances, domestic fights between parents, between children, between dear friends involve blame bouncing back and forth. And it's important from the beginning that you begin understanding that when that kind of dynamic is evolving, it means that there's sort of a bundle of negativity. And that negativity is something that people are trying to throw back and forth. And by nature of that bundle of negativity existing between two people, you both helped create it. It can feel like a loss to claim responsibility for a circumstance. There is a big difference between taking full responsibility for your part in a situation and for taking full blame. Blame means you say, this happened because of me. No, it's never true. Never happened just because of you. It always happened because of everyone. But often, a distorted understanding of the circumstance would have people constantly arguing to attribute blame. As you learn to identify it and say no, like chopping off a weed, the minute it emerges, you will be able to shift yourself into the kind of mindset that says, what responsibility can I take? That is almost never to argue with someone else to attempt to force them to understand the circumstances in a different way. The willingness to distance yourself from the people you're with and go internally to be present with your spirit, divine love, and to ask what can you most effectively do to heal whatever circumstance you're in or have recently been through, and to prevent a similar trauma or tragedy from emerging again. This kind of attitude is an entirely different consciousness than the consciousness of blame and guilt. Dwelling on a sense of internal self-hatred in relation to a tragedy or trauma that you might be a part of doesn't help anyone. It certainly doesn't heal the pain or salve the wounds that are around you. the very concept of fault and ownership of that fault becomes a distraction from most of the things that can be done to actually improve the situation. The only way to actually prevent negative circumstances from happening is to disengage whatever negativity you have invested in it. And there is truth to this question. There is a truth to whatever actual investment of negativity you may have made into a negative circumstance. If there has been a car crash, if there has been a nasty fight, if someone has gotten really angry and hurt themselves or another, everyone involved has made some level of emotional investment in the circumstances that went sour. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to measure it. You don't need to catalog it. And you might never need to do those things. If you hold a pure integrity that commits you to taking full responsibility for whatever you actually contributed to a situation. And I promise you, when you do that, you are doing the most effective thing you can towards inducing everyone else in the circumstance to take full responsibility for their participation. Because the moment you stop blaming other people in a way that attempts to force them to take responsibility for energy that is not initially their own, the moment you make that commitment, you make less static in their minds. They will be in a better position to learn to confront the truth of their own emotional investment in trauma. And that is a gift that you could give them with a little distance. It is not your job to convince someone else that everything is their fault. Everyone involved in an environment, in a family, in a community, everyone involved has some degree of investment in negative forces that go awry. And the best step you can take to healing that is to first begin with yourself. What responsibility, what is the healthiest ability to respond to this situation that you have? And it begins by committing yourself to owning your own negative feelings, owning the ways in which you are attempting to distance yourself from your own inner turmoil or emotional roller coaster rides. It's your job to look within, to hold the questions and the prayers about what you can do to bring love into pain, to dissolve blame.
I believe in truth. And I believe in light. I believe in the inner visions of my second sight.